All right, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
You guys sent in a pretty fascinating article.
Oh, yeah?
It's from Screen Rant, and it's titled 10 Biggest Questions Dune. Prophecy Season 2 needs to answer.
Sounds like fun.
It is. And it's a recent one, too, January 15th, 2025.
Wow. Hot off the presses.
I know, right? So the season finale of Dune, Prophecy. I mean,
Oh, my God.
it was a wild one, right?
Absolutely.
So many questions left unanswered, and so we're going to dive into those and maybe speculate a little bit about what we might see in the next season.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. So yeah, we're dealing with a world full of political scheming, spice, and who knows what else they're going to throw at us this time.
Well, what always gets me is how they take those little hints and threads from the original Dune books and weave them into this whole new story.
Right.
Like, take Valya Harkonnen showing up on Arrakis with Princess Yaiz and Kieran Atreides. And Arrakis, it's like the heart of the Dune universe.
It's true. Everything revolves around Arrakis.
Right. So having these major players all converge there, it can't just be a coincidence.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that can't be coincidences, the article spends a good amount of time talking about the mystery surrounding Desmond Hart's eye implants.
Oh, yeah. Those things are freaky.
I know, right? Those glowing blue things, like embedded in his eye sockets.
Uh-huh.
It's terrifying, and I kind of love it.
I know, right? And you have to wonder, who actually did that to him?
Right. Who gave him those things? And for what purpose?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, right? Because remember, in the Dune universe, thinking machines are strictly forbidden.
Right after the Butlerian Jihad, it's like the ultimate taboo.
Exactly. So these implants, with their ability to spread that fear-inducing virus, they really throw a wrench into everything we thought we knew about this world.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
makes you think whoever performed that surgery on Desmond was clearly messing with some seriously forbidden tech.
Oh, for sure. And their motives are still totally up in the air.
Oh, man. So many layers. And then there's the whole Tula and Desmond situation. I mean,
Right. Family drama essential.
you discover your long-lost son, and he's this superhuman weapon. And
then he arrests you.
Yeah.
That's some next-level family drama, that's for sure.
Talk about a dysfunctional family reunion. And speaking of family drama,
Yeah.
we've got this whole power struggle going on within the Imperium.
Absolutely.
Constantine, the heir apparent, now has to contend with Desmond, who's basically this force of nature at this point.
It's not just about lineage anymore. It's about who can command the most fear and influence.
Yeah, it's a whole new game now. And with Valya trying to put Princess Yaiz on the throne, it's like everyone's vying for power.
It really is. And then there's Natalia, the current empress.
Right.
The article brings up how she had her own daughter, Yaiz, arrested for helping Kieran.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So is she really trying to maintain order? Or is she playing her own game here?
Ooh, good question.
It's all very classic Dune, this intricate political maneuvering.
I love it. So we've got this potential power vacuum, a superhuman on the loose, and family drama galore.
Uh-huh.
But where does the sisterhood fit into all of this? The article hinted at some serious internal conflicts brewing there as well.
Oh, yeah, big time. Well, Dorothea rising to leadership while Valya and Tula are away, that's definitely a game changer.
Totally. And especially since she knows about the thinking machine technology and Valya's breeding index, that whole Anrol situation.
Right. And you know how secretive the Bene Gesserits are?
Super secretive, yeah.
This could completely shake up their power structure.
Definitely. And then we've got Leela channeling the spirit of Raquella herself. That's got to give her some serious clout.
No kidding, right. She could potentially even overshadow Valya.
Oh, wow.
With all these strong personalities and competing loyalties, I think we're in for a sisterhood showdown like we've never seen before.
Oh, I can't wait. And we can't forget about Theo. She sacrificed herself to help Valya escape, and now her fate's completely uncertain.
Yeah, poor Theo.
The article speculates that Desmond might have taken her prisoner.
Ooh, that's a good point.
If that's true, she could become a major bargaining chip in this whole power struggle.
It's like everyone's a pawn in this game, right?
Exactly. And speaking of bargaining chips,
Oh, yeah.
we've got Harold Harkonnen lurking in the shadows with that incriminating footage of Valya's conspiracy.
Harrow, he's such a wild card.
I know, right?
You never know what he's going to do next.
His motives are still a mystery,
Yeah.
but he definitely seems to enjoy playing the game.
He does, doesn't he? He could blackmail Valya, expose her to Desmond and Natalia, Or maybe even try to grab power for himself.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
And then there's that scene where Leela smashes Valya's breeding index, that anarol thing.
Oh, right.
The article questions whether it was really destroyed.
I mean, if it wasn't, it could be a serious weapon in the wrong hands.
Exactly. But if it was destroyed, what does that mean for the Bene Gesserit's breeding program?
That's a huge question, right? Because it's so central to their whole way of operating.
Totally. It's like their entire plan for shaping the future could be in jeopardy.
It's one of those things where the consequences could ripple out for generations.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. And then, of course, there's Tula and her seriously divided loyalties.
Oh, man. Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place.
Right. Her sisterhood, her son, her own survival. It's like, what do you choose?
It's a moral dilemma of epic proportions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how her choices play out in season 2.
I know. I'm already on the edge of my seat.
Me too. And speaking of things that keep us on the edge of our seats,
Yeah.
the article brings up the prophecy of the reckoning.
Right.
Remember Raquella's words? A revenant full of scars.
Yeah, those words have been haunting me ever since that episode.
I know, right? It's so ominous. And the article connects that prophecy to Desmond, which makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, he did have that near-death experience and then came back with these incredible powers.
Right. And remember how scarred he was after that?
Ugh, yeah, it was intense.
It's like he was reborn, but not quite the same.
Right. A revenant. The perfect description.
And the thing is, the prophecy also mentions a weapon born of war on a path too short.
Interesting.
Could that be referring to Leela?
Whoa, I never thought about that.
Because think about it. She was resurrected, right? Using that forbidden thinking machine technology, the same tech that likely gave Desmond his powers.
Yeah, you're right. It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
Maybe. It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a possibility.
So we've got a potential revenant in Desmond, a possible weapon in Leela, and this prophecy looming over everything.
And who knows what other surprises they have in store for us in season 2.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what happens. It's going to be epic.
I know, right?
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. But before we get too deep into all the speculation, I want to circle back to that Screen Rant article for a minute.
Okay.
One of the comments on the article brought up a theory that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It has to do with the Tula.
Ooh, now that's where things get really interesting.
Right. Buckle up, everyone, because we're about to go deep into some serious Dune lore.
This is gonna be good.
I know, right? I can't wait to dive in.
The Tula. I mean, they're like the puppet masters of the Dune universe, always lurking in the shadows.
Right. They're masters of genetic manipulation, shrouded in secrecy.
Exactly. And they always seem to have their fingers in the most dangerous pies.
It's true. So to think they might be involved in Desmond's transformation.
Oh, man. It adds a whole other layer of complexity to everything.
I know, right? And it makes you wonder about all those questions the article brings up. Like suddenly the stakes seem even higher.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because we're not just dealing with political maneuvering and power struggles anymore.
Right. We might be talking about something that could completely reshape the Imperium.
Absolutely. Well, think about it. We know the Bene Gesserit are skilled with genetics, right?
Yeah, for sure. But the Tula.
I take it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
Right. They're the ones who created those creepy face dancers, shapeshifters, who can perfectly mimic anyone.
Oh, God. Yeah, the face dancers are seriously disturbing.
And the way Desmond spreads that fear virus, it almost feels like a biological weapon, something carefully engineered.
That's a good point. It's not just raw power. It's something much more insidious.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder if those blue implants in his eyes, are they more than just advanced thinking machines?
Right. Could they be Tula tech, something entirely different?
It's a possibility, isn't it? I mean...
It's blowing my mind just thinking about it.
Me too. And remember that scene in the finale when they find Valya's hidden stash of thinking machines?
Yeah.
Those things look ancient, clunky, compared to Desmond's sleek implants.
You're right. I hadn't thought of that. It's like different generations of tech.
Right, or maybe even different branches that developed independently.
Yeah, because the Tula, they always operate outside the rules. So it wouldn't be surprising if they developed their own unique form of thinking machine technology.
I totally agree. And if they are behind Desmond's powers, the question is why?
Right. What's their end game? What do they stand to gain from all this chaos?
Well, to understand the Tula, you have to understand their motivations.
Which are?
Power control manipulation.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily through brute force, but through carefully calculated strategies, always playing the long game.
So maybe they're using Desmond to destabilize the Imperium.
Yeah, create chaos that they can then exploit.
It's a classic tactic, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because a weakened Imperium would be vulnerable.
To their manipulation, to their scheme.
Exactly. They could offer their services, their genetic creations, to the highest bidder.
Like, hey, we could fix this problem for you for a price.
Precisely. And they control the production of gulas.
Right, clones of deceased individuals.
Imagine the leverage they could gain by resurrecting key political figures.
Or creating armies of loyal duplicates.
The possibilities are, well, kind of terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. But also incredibly fascinating. From a storytelling perspective, I mean...
Oh, absolutely. It raises the stakes.
Yeah.
It adds this whole new layer of intrigue to an already complex plot.
It really does. Okay, so we've got this whole Tleilaxu conspiracy theory brewing.
Uh-huh.
But hold on. There's that comment about Desmond's eye implants.
Yeah.
Something about the pupils.
Oh, right.
They had pupils in the first episode, but not in the last.
That's interesting. It could be a continuity error, sure.
Yeah.
But what if it's not?
What if it's a clue?
Right. What if those pupils weren't really pupils at all?
Ooh, okay, I like where this is going.
Maybe they were like indicators of the thinking machine technology?
Like a visual representation of his connection to whoever's controlling him.
Maybe. And as his powers grow, as he breaks free, they disappear.
Whoa. That's giving me chills.
Yeah, it's like the creators are dropping these subtle hints, these breadcrumbs, leading to some big reveal.
I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, Dune has always been a story full of hidden meanings and symbolism.
Exactly.
Right.
And remember, the article also mentioned how Dorothea and Leela just happened to know about that secret tunnel in the finale.
Yeah, how did they know about that?
It's a good question, right? Because that tunnel was supposed to be a closely guarded secret.
So, either it wasn't as secret as everyone thought,
Or they have access to some knowledge we're not privy to yet.
maybe Dorothea, being high up in the sisterhood, she's uncovered some secrets about their past.
Forgotten lore, hidden pathways, who knows?
And Leela, channeling the spirit of Rokella, maybe she's tapped into memories or insights that go beyond the sisterhood's current understanding.
That's a cool idea, right? Like she's got this ancient wisdom flowing through her.
It would explain a lot.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we've got Tleilaxu machinations, mystery eye implants, secret tunnels.
Sounds like a pretty standard day in the Dune universe, doesn't it?
Uh-huh, pretty
Yeah.
much. But let's try to connect this back to the other characters. How might the Tleilaxu's potential involvement impact Valya, Tula, Dorothea, and the others?
Well, if they're pulling the strings, it means everyone is a potential pawn in their game.
Right, no one's safe.
Valya, with her ambition, her desire to control the throne, she could be exactly what the Tleilaxu need to create chaos and weaken the Imperium.
Yeah, they could use her to further their own agenda without her even realizing it.
And poor Tula, caught between her sisterhood and her son, she's right in the crossfire.
Talk about a no-win situation.
Imagine the pressure they could exert on her. They're experts at exploiting vulnerabilities. And Tula's maternal instincts, that's a prime target.
They could dangle the promise of Desmond's freedom or safety to get her to do what they want.
Exactly. Classic divide and conquer tactics.
It's brutal, but effective. And Dorothea, leading a rebellion within the sisterhood, she might be playing right into their hands.
Yeah, without even knowing it.
They could offer her faction support, resources, maybe even their advanced technology.
All to help them overthrow Valya.
But then as soon as it's convenient, the Tleilaxu would turn on them.
Oh, yeah. The Tleilaxu are notorious for their treachery. They'd never let loyalty stand in the way of their goals.
So it's all about control. For them, it's about staying one step ahead, manipulating everyone to suit their agenda.
That's the Tleilaxu way, for sure.
And it makes you think about the prophecy of the reckoning. If they're the masterminds behind all this, could they be the ones orchestrating this apocalyptic event?
It's a chilling thought, right?
Yeah, it is. But it also makes sense. The prophecy mentions a revenant full of scars and a weapon born of war.
Right. And we've been focusing on Desmond and Leela, but
But what if the Tleilaxu themselves are the real threat?
they're masters of manipulating life and death. Their twisted creations could easily fit the description of Revenant.
And their whole modus operandi is based on conflict, on war. They manipulate these events to their advantage.
It's like they're puppet masters pulling the strings of empires.
And their ultimate goal might be to orchestrate the reckoning and then reshape the Imperium according to their own twisted vision.
It's a pretty bleak outlook, isn't it?
It is. It makes you think about the cyclical nature of history in the Dune universe. Humanity keeps making the same mistakes.
Yeah, falling prey to the same temptations of power and control.
The Butlerian Jihad. the war against thinking machines. It was supposed to be a turning point.
But here we are, centuries later, facing the same dangers, just in a different form.
Like, have we learned nothing?
It's a cosmic echo, a reminder that some patterns are just inescapable.
And it makes me wonder, if the Tleilaxu are involved, does humanity even stand a chance? Are we all just puppets in their game?
That's the question, isn't it? But even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
Right.
Dune is a story about human resilience, about our ability to adapt and overcome even the most formidable challenges.
So maybe, just maybe, the Tleilaxu have underestimated us.
Maybe they've underestimated the power of human ingenuity, the unpredictable nature of fate.
I like that. Maybe the prophecy of the reckoning isn't a foregone conclusion.
But a warning.
A call to action.
Right. Maybe it's up to characters like Tula, Dorothea, even Leela to break free from their influence and forge their own destiny.
So fight back against these puppet masters.
Yes. And let's not forget those intriguing details. We talked about Desmond's vanishing pupils, the secret tunnel.
Yeah. What about them?
They could be clues. Hints that there's more to the story than we realize.
Right. That not everyone is playing by the Tleilaxu's rules.
Exactly.
This is why I love Dune. It's a story that keeps you guessing. Makes you think. It's not just about the action. It's about the ideas, the moral dilemmas.
It's about exploring what it means to be human in this vast, often unforgiving universe.
You put it perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that's why this Tleilaxu theory is so compelling. It taps into our anxieties about control, about manipulation, about unseen forces shaping our destiny.
It's a thought-provoking idea, that's for sure.
It is, and it adds this whole new dimension to the questions the article asks. We're not just wondering about the fate of these characters anymore.
But the fate of humanity itself.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. So the Tleilaxu being involved changes everything, right? But let's get specific. The article had a ton of questions about Season 2. How did the Tleilaxu change those?
Well, let's take the succession question. Who's going to end up on the throne?
Right. The article asks if it'll be Constantine as the rightful heir, or Desmond with all his scary new powers, or will Valya get her way and rule through Princess Yanez?
But if the Tleilaxu are the real power behind the scenes, maybe it doesn't matter who's actually sitting on that throne.
You're saying it's all about who controls the puppet strings.
Exactly. They might not care who's the figurehead, as long as they can manipulate them.
So maybe their goal is to install a weak ruler, someone easily influenced.
Someone they can control. That would be a pretty classic Tleilaxu move.
Yeah, and it plays right into their whole chaos strategy.
Oh, absolutely. Because all that chaos creates the perfect opportunity for them to step in.
And offer their services, their solutions.
For a price, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's like a twisted business model, right?
Yeah.
Create the problem, then sell the solution.
Pretty much. And with their expertise in genetics and cloning, they've got a lot to offer.
Speaking of genetics, the article also asked about Valya's breeding index, that Anarol thing.
Right. What happens if it really was destroyed?
What happens to the Bene Gesserit's whole breeding program?
Do they try to rebuild it? Could the Tleilaxu take advantage of the situation?
Ooh, that's interesting. The Tleilaxu, they have their own ideas about genetics.
Totally. Remember those axolotl tanks?
Yeah, where they grow their gulas. It's all kinds of creepy.
And they're not shy about selling their genetic creations to anyone who can pay.
So they could easily step in and try to fill the gap left by Anarol.
Offer their services to the Bene Gesserit or to any other faction looking for an edge.
But would the Bene Gesserit go for it? I mean, they're obsessed with purity of bloodlines.
Yeah, you'd think they'd reject the Tleilaxu's creations, right?
But maybe, if they're desperate enough to save their breeding program,
They might be tempted to make a deal with the devil.
and the Tleilaxu, they'd be happy to oblige.
Oh, absolutely. They thrive on that kind of desperation.
Okay, so what about the sisterhood? What happens to them in all of this?
The article wondered if they'd stay united. With all the internal conflict and the thinking machine reveal.
Yeah, with Dorothea challenging Valya, will we see a schism?
And of course, the Tleilaxu, they'd love to exploit that.
Right, like turning the sisterhood against itself?
They could offer support to Dorothea's faction, give them resources, maybe even access to Tleilaxu tech.
All to help them overthrow Valya.
But then, once Dorothea served her purpose,
They turn on her in a heartbeat.
oh yeah, they toss her aside without a second thought.
So it all comes back to control, right?
For the Tleilaxu, it always does.
And it makes you think about the prophecy, the reckoning. Are the Tleilaxu setting the stage for that?
It's a disturbing thought, but it's possible.
Right. Maybe the prophecy isn't some inevitable event.
But something the Tleilaxu are actively working to bring about.
Using everyone as pawns in their game.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And if that's true, what does it mean for humanity?
Can we even stop them?
Those are some heavy questions.
They are. But even facing something as scary as the Talaxu, we can't give up hope.
Right. The human spirit is strong.
We're survivors. We find ways to fight back.
So maybe Tula, Dorothea, maybe even Leela, they'll find a way to break free.
To resist the Talaxu's influence, forge their own path.
And what about those clues we talked about? Desmond's weird pupils, that secret tunnel.
Maybe those are signs that there are other forces at work.
Forces pushing back against the Talaxu.
Forces that could help turn the tide.
It's a glimmer of hope in a pretty dark situation.
It is. And it reminds us that in Dune, nothing is certain.
Exactly. There's always room for surprise, for unexpected twists and turns.
And that's what keeps us coming back, right?
Absolutely. It's a story that keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you thinking.
It's not just about the action, it's about the ideas, the big questions.
What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to fight for what you believe in?
Even when the odds are stacked against you.
Exactly. Dune makes you think about those things, and that's what makes it so powerful.
It's a story that stays with you long after you've finished watching.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am even more hyped for season 2 now.
Oh, yeah, me too. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So much to look forward to. All right, well, that about wraps it up for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring these theories with you.
Likewise. And a huge thanks to all our listeners for joining us.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of Dune.
Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.